Hello, everyone. Welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today, I'm doing it remotely from my house. But today we have Andy Powell, who has set up Healthier Heroes community interest company and is based in Burnley. Andy, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. First, thanks, Ger, for having us on. Really appreciate it, and to be able to obviously tell everybody a little bit about me and what we do. So, I grew up in Burnley. I grew up in a family of kind of a bit of a poverty and broken backgrounds. Dad left me mum when I was a couple of years old. I was about 2. Back then, I was living in Germany, so we came back home. As a family, we were a little bit sort of homeless and lost until we got taken in by family, and we kind of grew up from there. And sort of put in sort of terms of my personal background, I was that child who was never engaged in education, always getting in trouble, low-level antisocial behaviour, and then obviously fundamentally left school at 16 with no qualifications whatsoever. So, as many of us did, join the army. There was nothing else for me. I think if I carried on down the road that I was going on, then I'd probably end up in jail, if I'm being honest with you. Joined the military at 16. I joined the Queen's Lancashire Regiment and had a really, really good career, 16 years service. And I left in 2013. So it was absolutely brilliant. Loved it. So I left in 2013.
You said you were in Germany. So was your dad in the forces?
Yeah, my dad was 2 RTR, so I was a Pads Bradley. I was born in Rintel and grew up over there for a couple of years. Yeah.
All right. So starting off joining 16, it's a right shock to the system, isn't it? Because I'm assuming being 2, you wouldn't have remembered what being a Pads Brat was like anyway.
No, not at all. Don't remember anything.
So it's a massive shock, isn't it, leaving home and going when you're 16?
Yeah, I mean, I it's sort of like going back a few years. I was homeless at 14. I witnessed my mum being involved with domestic violence back then. So I left home at 14, street homeless, sofa surfing, and then ended up living with my grandparents. And I never engaged in school at all. So I was kind of always flitting about, never really knew who I was. I finally found, my dad, but I did find my dad just before I joined the military. I was about 15, and not seeing him back then. So until then, so I went to try and sort of rekindle that relationship, which then didn't work out. So it was like that, again, a sense of rejection for me and not having any belonging or any real place. So, I think the army for me was, although I wanted to always join the army was a place for me where I could rekindle that sense of belonging and get that sort of camaraderie and that family environment again.
So did you really take that as a family for yourself straight away then?
Absolutely, yeah. I just fit straight in. You know yourself, mate. There's many people that join the military from a similar background, so you kind of click and become friends very quickly.
So did you end up, I mean, this is just a right question, but did you end up just going back to the other lads as on leave? Because we had a couple of lads who sort of didn't really get on at home and they would go and spend leave with anybody else.
Yeah, I went and seen people while I were on leave, and then, like I said, just before I joined the army, I was living with my grandma and granddad, so more often than not, I'd come back home and go and live with them. But it was a case of leaving camp on a Friday, get home on that Friday afternoon, whenever it was, and then get your kit on, and I was straight out all weekend, as you do, and come home on a Sunday and get back in the car and go back.
That's it, isn't it? People don't understand that your money basically is just beer tokens, isn't it? And maybe some new clothes.
Yeah.
Because you haven't got anything else to worry about, have you, really?
No, absolutely not, mate.
And obviously that in itself leads to problems when people leave the forces, because then they didn't realise that to pay bills, they didn't realise you had a water bill or get yourself a dentist. That every 6 months costs you some money. It's weird, isn't it?
Well, that's it, mate. It's them basic life skills, like you say, that you don't have to worry about or even think about, really. When you're in the military, you get told on part 1 orders when your dentist appointment is. You get that sort of thing, and you just go, and someone tells you need to get your teeth ripped out or whatever it might be, and then you leave and you get into the big wide world, and you've got to find yourself again and find how to do these things. The basic things really that you've never had to think about. So,
I was just talking about Part 1 orders to somebody who wasn't in the military the other day, and I was just like, basically, it just meant anything you would get locked up for was because you hadn't read that. You hadn't read it on the night. So if you got locked up, it was your own fault for not reading.
Yeah, exactly.
So where did you do your training?
Gosh, what was it called? Glencorse. So Milton Bridge first at Glencorse for first. Gosh, what was it now? I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks or something like that. Scotland.
All right.
Yeah, in Edinburgh. Yeah, so you went up there for like 5 weeks, and it was kind of a bit of a beat up thing, and you had to pass out from there to join phase 1. So then we went to Glencorse, and then you obviously done your phase 1 training there, and then down to good old sunny Catterick.
Oh, it's no wrong with Catterick. I wish, because my trainer was in Winchester, I would have loved to have done mine in Catterick. Because you thought like 9 hours to get back from Winchester.
Oh God, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's on the right corner for you, really, isn't it, Catterick?
Yeah, it's not bad at all. So did you enjoy your training?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was quite good. I was never one of them that was always, physically fit. So I found fitness, and I have done all my life really. Found it difficult. So, but I loved it. It was that something missing in my life. But yeah, I loved it. It was great. It was hard work, but it was great. I think the hardest thing for me was the fact that I had a Welsh training team full of Englishmen. So, around that time of the Euro 2006, and not being able to enjoy that was hard.
Did you join as a junior leader, junior soldier or something?
No. So I was 16 and 9 months, so I joined as an adult entry. Yeah.
All right. I joined as a junior leader because I was just over 16. Like.
Yeah.
Where was your first posting?
Northern Ireland.
All right.
In Ormer. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that. That was mine.
Was it really?
Fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Ireland, mate, for me was absolutely tremendous. Love that place. Yeah.
So I went there in September 87.
87, right? Yeah. I think yeah. It was good. Loved it.
So obviously they'd be the same barracks. I can't remember what the barracks was called.
Lizanelli
Man.
barracks.
Isn't it weird, man? Just what it comes flooding back once you see it.
Yeah.
Was the plastic pub still there?
Blackie pub was still there, mate. Absolutely, of course it was.
and there was another barracks on the other side of the river, wasn't there?
Royal Irish.
Aye.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was.
I got glassed there.
Did you?
I got glassed at Christmas. Well, I can't remember what regiment they were on the other side of there, but I got glassed.
Yeah, it was a Royal Irish while we were there.
Memories come flooding back. So how long were you in there for in Roma?
God, when did we leave? 97, 2000, I think it was. We left in 2000. Yeah, was it 99? No, it was 99. Sorry, 99 when we left.
Where was your sort of patch then? Because when I first went, it was like Fermanagh and things, and then by the end, it got changed to we're doing Strabane and places like that.
God, mate, we went absolutely everywhere. To be honest, yeah, everywhere. Probably one of my best tours, one of my best postings, to be honest.
Well, that's what you joined for, though, isn't it? Basically, that was the reason I joined to go to Northern Ireland, and I had a choice of 1, 2, or 3 LI, and 1 LI was in Ireland. That's why I picked that, really.
Right. Okay.
And I from whatever's happened in my life, I never regret that at all, because that's exactly what I want to do. What I didn't like is when I went to Berlin. that's what I didn't like. All the polishing used boots and marching about. I totally
we missed out on my battalion was in Berlin years before I joined. But I've heard some horror stories.
It's far too. It was a different pressure from Northern Ireland, completely different. But you always had to be pristine, and only a certain amount of people could leave the camp at once. I think you had to have 80% in camp or in Berlin itself, and it's just a nightmare. Like, and then they brought the wall down, and then spoiled it for everyone. Well, it's spoiled it for the English anyway. no more cheap stuff in the east. So, God. Moving on, mate. You in Ireland, then where did you go after that?
Then we went to Catterick, to Alma Barracks in the centre of Catterick. And then when did we go from there? Then I think we'd done a couple of 6-monthers on TRB, back to South Armagh and stuff. So, that was really good. I really enjoyed that in the Towers. Then the battalion moved shortly after that to Besbrook Mill as a 6-monther, as a battle group. We was quite lucky there. We had, I won't say action, but it's quite...
in South Armagh,
Pardon?
In South Armagh, Besbrook Mill.
Besbrook Mill, yeah. And we were based, so I was forward based at Forkill, and then we utilised Forkill as a PB, and then we went up into the Towers and stuff like that. But I was lucky as a battalion mate, because while we were there, we had a Barrett Buster bomb that was launched towards Besbrook Mill, but it was filled with crap, so it never actually really initiated properly. It went off, but landed just behind camp where the accommodation was. So if it had hit, Jesus Christ, it would have been an absolute nightmare. And I was actually out on a foot patrol that night on Newry Road. And obviously it came over the radio that everyone had to put rat trap VCPs in. So we put it in on Newry Road, and next minute this car's absolutely winging it down Newry Road. And we're like, oh my God, is this them? Thought, flipping heck. So they come to a screaming stop halfway up the road. The RUC are running up with a mag light, so the big black ones. Car stops and they're screaming at them, obviously weapons all, at the ready and whatnot. And next minute, doors open. We thought, shit, it's going to go off here. And then all you saw then was women fall out the car because it's in the RUC. They just kicked these birds out of the car and turned around and sped off. And thought, how lucky are you lot?
Madness, man, madness. So, obviously, Ireland was your favourite post. What was your worst?
Afghan. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've had a worse tour, to be honest. In terms of worseness, the heat and the intensity, and and what you get up to and that. But I enjoyed them all, to be fair. It was just different levels of intensity and workload, weren't it? But I was lucky enough, to be fair, to serve in Cyprus twice as well. So it was.
Everybody who I get on here has been in Cyprus, man. I've only been on holiday. I didn't see why I'm saying that I only spent 5 years in the army, so I didn't get a chance. But my battalion went to Cyprus. But where
was they, in Epi or Decalia?
I didn't know. I went to visit actually in 1999, I think it was. I went on holiday over there, and then I went to the battalion to have a look around. But I didn't fancy staying in the army just to go to Cyprus. I just went for a fortnight holiday instead.
It was worth it. It was good. Yeah, it was good.
Everyone said it was brilliant. So, what made you leave then?
Well, I was on my last Eric tour. Eric 17 we did. So that was kind of like the part of the transition. And it was meant to be pretty cool, but it was a bit of a nightmare. There was quite a lot going on. And then basically, mate, I came home. New stuff was good. I was married back then. I'm married again now, but I was married back then, and knew things weren't right. And I came home from Afghan, turned up at Bryce, no family there. So I was like, wow, what's going on here? So anyway, I get home, and cut a long story short, I find out my wife had been having an affair for a year at the time. So yeah, obviously I went off the rails a little bit, and the old redundancies had come in at that point as well while we were in Afghan. So I was exempt from redundancy because we were on tour. So yeah, when I come home and find out all of that and a few other bits and pieces had gone on in my life, I took the redundancy and left. He was, how old was I back then? Flipping heck, 2013. What's that now? 7 years ago. So I'll be 32. So I left as a colour sergeant at 32, and I thought I've still got the rest of my life really to kind of start a new career and do something, which didn't quite pan out right at the very start like that, because like I say, I went off the rails, so a bit of drink and fighting and God knows what else. I was lucky enough not to end up in jail. So I had to sort my life out. My mum's only 5'2", and she belted me with a slipper out back head one day. Told me I need to sort my head out.
Was that the turning point then with your mum?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I just, the road I was going down, mate, was absolutely horrendous. It really was. So I then I took a job as a sales executive. I think that's what they call them now. So I was on the phone selling fuel cards to businesses, but I'd already done my CP course as well as part of my resettlement. So obviously I was qualified doing that, doing a couple of security jobs and whatnot, and then end up back out in Iraq on the circuit for a few years. So yeah, it was definitely a turning point, like to get my head together. But again, it was one of them. I didn't know what I wanted, didn't know where I wanted to be, didn't know where I fit in, and just kind of did a few bits here, there, and everywhere, and ended up back out in the Middle East again.
And did that sort of curtail your drinking and stuff, or did that just make you not drink when you were in Iraq and then drink loads when you came back?
Well, we were dry while we were out there completely, so there were nothing around, and yes, so I smashed it when I come home.
I have clients that experience the same thing, but you know, you need a release from somewhere, I suppose. It's just when it gets to a problem that's the difference in it.
Yeah. Well, it was like eight weeks. Well, when I first started actually out there, it was 12 weeks. 12 weeks in country, 4 weeks back home. So 12 weeks away, you know, from family and friends, and, you know, that kind of socializing is a bloody long time. Do you know what I mean? So when you come home, you just go a bit wild, don't you? And enjoy yourself.
It's never wrong with that one. It's like I say, as long as it doesn't become a problem for you, it's, you know, you need some sort of release to get it all out of your system anyway, don't you?
Yeah, and I think as well, for me, it was, obviously I had 3 kids back then as well. I've got 5 now. But I had my kids to sort of not lean on, but I've not seen them for a while, so I wanted to spend time with them and, you know, be a father and that again, you know, sort of rebuild a home with them that I'd obviously lost. So yeah, I enjoyed myself, don't get me wrong, but I tried to spend as much time with my kids as well as I could.
Good dad, man. Good dad. Do you have you any regrets about either the forces or private security?
Absolutely no regrets leaving the military at all. In actual fact, when everybody in the mess found out I was leaving, they said I was stupid. Anyway, I left. 6 months later, I was getting messages off a number of people saying, "Wish we'd have done the same." Miss the lads, don't get me wrong. I still, you know, obviously when you're in the military, you know yourself, you know, you have a lot of friends, but when you leave, you actually find out who your friends are.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've got a small circle of friends now, which is good for me. But yeah, I don't regret leaving at all. I'm not saying miss the lads, don't regret leaving the circuit. I left the circuit because the money weren't that great anymore. It started dropping. So I suppose it gave me an opportunity, mate, to do other things.
So how have you ended up starting Healthier Heroes?
So when I left the circuit, I went to work for a company in Liverpool that were teaching kids who were like me when I was a kid, you know, getting into bother all the time, not getting into education, not getting the results in the grades. So I started working with a company who went into schools, colleges, high schools, and sort of helping them kids out. And then a few years down the line, I opened my own business doing exactly the same thing. So while I was doing that, I linked in with an outdoor education organisation who were delivering sort of hill walking, mountain climbing, you know, that sort of stuff. So it was about offering not just the internal classroom stuff, but the external Duke of Edinburgh type things as well. So whilst we partnered to do that, we had an office in an armed forces headquarters in Wigan. So we were kind of asked to take over that as that full sort of package. So my business partner at the time and I did, and yeah, we took over it, and we've took it from strength to strength. Really, we managed to fall on our feet, so to speak, in terms of being able to offer our experiences and live life experiences to those that need the help and support. So yeah, we kind of fell into that role really, and it just went from strength to strength. We managed to win £500,000 off the MOD. It was the MOD and the University of Chester that created a tackling stress program. So there were only 7 organisations in the country that got a pot of the money. So that's been delivered now for the last almost 2 years now, and it run really, really well, massively successful, some great outcomes. You know, not just about getting numbers through the door, because that's not what it's about. It's about the end result. So for those that we have had through the door, we've, you know, many of intervention, you know, getting people off alcohol or reduction of alcohol and mental health, providing external services, housing. You know, I think we had 12 when I left, 12 housed homeless veterans. So it's amazing.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Sounds like a great service, mate. So you've opened a new building, haven't you, in Burnley? Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I kind of left that project running in Wigan with my old business partner. So she now runs that completely, and then I wanted to offer it to somewhere where there was nothing really, other than there are other groups. You know, I think it's important to say there are other groups across Lancashire, mate, that are offering breakfast clubs or, you know, a smaller scaled down version of what I'm doing, whether it's, you know, health and wellbeing, art therapy and gardening, community centres and all that. You know, they're all great, but there's nothing on the scale that what we're doing, and that's not to kind of big us up, but we're doing it because it's needed. So yeah, we work with property investors. So I've not bought the building, so property investors have done that. So they bought the building and they've put up all the money as well to renovate the building for us. So it's costing an absolute arm and a leg, and I'm honestly so grateful for them jumping on board. You know, in terms of social impact, it's going to be immense. So we can house 25 veterans, whether that's street homeless, vulnerable veterans, or veterans leaving the criminal justice system. Get them in, get a, you know, safe, secure roof over their head, and then wrap a care package around each individual one of them, whether that's drink and drug addiction, domestic violence, historic sexual abuse, adverse childhood experiences, and then take them through a journey, mate. However that might look, and however that might take, how long that might take, and, you know, re-educate them about, you know, basic life skills, and get them back through an education and training and employment schemes. And fundamentally, mate, they'll come into us, and, you know, we would like to say within 2 years of someone being absolutely rock bottom, you know, they're going to leave us drink free, drug free, fully independently living, have some form of employment, managing the mental health, and they're back out in the community, mate, again, doing what they should be doing, really.
Sounds excellent. Do you have is that the time limit 2 year, or is that just a?
I'm just kind of utilising 2 years as a bit of a time frame, so that they, you know, because I think it's important for them to understand that they're not there forever. You know,
yeah.
I don't want them there forever, because I'd be doing them an injustice by just keeping them there. Do you know what I mean? They've got to move on, and fundamentally they've then got to be able to be back out in the communities doing whatever it is that they want to do. You know, if someone comes to us and says, look, you know, I've always wanted to be a window cleaner, then we'll work with them to create entrepreneurial opportunities as well. You know, so when they leave us 2 years down the line, you know, hopefully they're going to leave us having a van and a couple of sets of ladders and a bit of a window cleaning around, whatever it might be, anything.
It sounds brilliant, because far too much people in temporary accommodation have just left. I mean, when I worked in that sector, there was people 20 years in temporary accommodation. Yeah. What's fucking temporary about 20 years? You know, ridiculous. You know, you could have bought a house, the amount of money the taxpayers paid to put somebody in temporary accommodation for 20 years. It's ridiculous. So that sounds like a really brilliant business model, mate.
And I kind of, I've experienced it as well. So not as long as 20 years, but I've experienced other organisations whose intentions are to support veterans. They're all well and good, but their actual intent moving forward don't actually happen. You know, so they get housed, they get paid a lot of money to house them and support them, but the supporting element never happens. But then they're also put in substandard accommodation, and they're never looked after. So, you know, it sickened me to the stomach, to be honest. So, you know, I think that's just so important that they understand there's a journey for them to follow.
Yeah, I think we've obviously sort of shared the similar experiences, because why I set Vix up is because there was a charity doing exactly that I knew about, and it's out of water, mate. It's out of water, and people see pound signs and they just think, you know, I keep that person for myself, all the money, and not let that person move forward. And it's out of water. It really is, you know. It's not about money. It's about helping people, and it's about the client at the end of the day. And
any veteran organisation, that's worth the weight in gold, sort of thing. You know, if that's what it's about. It's about the helping people. It's not about, you know, paying yourself 3-figure salaries and this and that and the other, and it's literally about the end result of that person or the family as well, because that's the other thing that people forget about the families, and it's the families that tend to take the majority of the brunt. The veterans got the addiction issues or the mental health issues, but the family are the ones who have got to live with that day in, day out. If it's just as hard as a struggle for the veteran it is for the family and the kids as well. The kids find it very difficult to cope with that.
We've just started or we'll be starting Friday coming a veterans families counselling service out of our building. So like you said, people do forget about families. People always, everything's catered for veterans, but what we've tried to do here is cater for families as well. In all the activities that we do, the counselling, for instance, and doing any of the therapy things that we do, like Reiki and stuff, families can get involved with that. I think it's important, because it's all right fixing one person in a household, but if the other people are slightly broken as well, I think you need a whole wraparound thing for it.
Well, that's it, mate. It's the full holistic support package, isn't it? For everybody. And I think we're quite lucky because the building that we found is it's a 4-story grade 2 listed building. So you've got the 2 top floors as the accommodation, and then below that is quite a lot of office space and training facilities. Got a huge communal kitchen and living space, and then out the back is just this. Well, it was an old swimming pool in its time, so you can envisage the size of the space. So that's going to allow us, the opportunity to run programs from there. You mentioned there about Reiki. My missus is a Reiki qualified and yoga teacher. So there's all sorts of that stuff going to be going on, but utilising external services as well. So veterans retreats and fishing clubs, golf clubs, biking clubs. In fact, just over an hour ago, I was in the Burnley Express yesterday. So a local gym have just been in touch with us, and they're wanting to set up a strength and conditioning program for veterans and families as well. So it's we've got everything I'm hoping everything boxed off. So there's
we've been lucky in Sunderland. We've got a gym next to our ERV called Fitness 2000, and they give all our clients lifetime memberships for free. And then we put 4 circuit training sessions on a week. We've actually, a client has went from a client volunteer now to a full-time worker, and we've put her through all our courses to be able to take the session. So it's ideal. And my vision for it is you only work for Vix if you've been a client. You got to be from Sunderland, you've been a client, and it gives somebody for them to aim for.
Well, I mean, again, it's lived experience as well, isn't it, mate? If they've been through that journey and that cycle with you, and and it's amazing that they've gone through the volunteering and become an employee rather. They're then able to offer back that journey that they've been on, but give the others light at the end of the tunnel as well because of that
hope. That's it, man. They've just that person at the start of their journey can look and think, I can get to there. It's not about having like academic qualifications. It's not about that. It's all about life experiences and what you've lived through. And we put them on different courses, mental health courses and safeguarding and things like that. And that slowly builds their sort of CV up, And it's a good thing, like.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me as well is that, I've been through a lot in my life, hell of a lot. I've even been on the end of a horse bike before, so I've been down that deep, dark path. So anyone that comes through the door, I can sympathise and empathise with them, understand exactly where they're coming from, and that one bit of hope that you mentioned there of knowing that you're sat in front of somebody who's been through that just gives you that bit of a sense of, right, okay, I'm now with the right people, because a lot of the issues our veterans don't like engaging with other services, civvies, because they don't understand what's going on. Whereas with services like ours, they could come and sit with us and we get it. It's the same lingo, it's the same banter.
We get that a lot, and I've experienced it. I've been with services when I wasn't as well, and they would say, I know how you feel. And they didn't know how you feel. They've got no idea how you feel. But at least in our services, when somebody says that, they realise they probably do know how you feel because they've done the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I agree, 100%.
Do you want to get anything else out there before we finish off there?
Well, I just think, look, the big thing for me as well is collaboration, you know, across the country, you know, and that's why I'm doing this with yourself, and I'm linking in with other veteran organisations and that as well, because I think if, you know, instead of being like sporadic pockets of, you know, this, that, and the other happening all over the place, if they're doing good, then they're doing good. That's great. But if we can all come together, you know, and
Totally
tie
agree
up
with
their
that.
loose ends, you know, then, you know, we, the veterans and the families know that if you can't help, then somebody else can help, and we all have them links and connections. You know,
Yeah,
it's about
well,
working together at the end of the day, mate.
if you give me any links that you want putting on, anything that you want sticking on the advert for the podcast or to run along the bottom,
Yeah.
Tall Image will put it on for you. Thanks for taking the time out to speak to us, mate. It's been really good.
No, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having
And
us. Appreciate it.
when this madness is finished, I'll come down and you come up, have a look around there.
Absolutely, mate. 100%.
Hopefully this madness has got to finish, because you can't get up forever, man.
But
Right,
do you know
thanks,
what?
mate.
As mad as it is, mate, it's also showing that there's more need for support for veterans who are now struggling more with mental health and addictions issues because of this.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Yeah, exactly right. Okay, you take care, mate.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot, man. Bye.